Hey, thanks for checking in with us. This is Randy, the news guy, and I want to talk with you about what to do with your press release after it's released. And there's all different kinds of things that you can do, but one of the tactics I want to show you is going to give you greater visibility of your press release, both not only on the news sites, but as well in additional places on Google search. And a side bonus, bam, get some awesome links as well. I'm going to talk about, and let me go share my screen. I'm just kind of free flowing this thing. We're going to talk about podcasts. Now, I think I've talked about podcasts here in the past, but I want to share some stuff. I'm looking over on my other screen over here, so I'm sorry if I'm not looking right at you. But podcasts are really terrific. Now, we do one, it's called the News Guy Podcast, right? And there's all different kinds of things you can do with it. And this was just an example of our podcast. And I had this in a presentation, boom, and like, hey, if I played this during the presentation and played the podcast, which is kind of cool. However, but you can kind of see here was the press release that we did for the podcast. And then if I searched for this podcast title, bam, there's Player FM right there in the second spot in the organic traffic, which was really pretty awesome. So let me show you a little bit of what that looks like. So here as an example, this is our channel for the News Guy podcast. Let me even just go to it. Boom. So you can see we do a lot of these. I don't know how many episodes we have. It probably says somewhere. But, we can do all of these great different podcasts. And it's all what we do is we take the press release, we create a brand new evergreen podcast episode. And then from that, then we distribute it out across our podcast platforms like Spotify or Podchaser, iTunes, Apple, Google Podcast, all of those great platforms. Here's a whole nother, right? Here we are on Podchaser, getting great. Here we are on Google Podcast. Now, the great thing is, well, why? Who cares? That's wonderful. Get it out there on the podcast. So let me hit you up on a couple of different things. One, these are really good links. There's about half of the ones that we distribute out on actually give you do follow active links. So what we do is, and let's just take a look at this one here. I'll open this up. This is one that we did just less than 24 hours ago. Independent Pest Solutions, right? So we craft, here's our podcast. Here are the show notes, right? So we do all of this great stuff. Talk about this particular client was doing independent pest solutions and they were doing a great thing. But look at this. Here are the active links in here. Now let's just do a little click and inspect. Bam. Do follow links. Do you guys see that? Ooh, nice. So, and you're like, well, okay, that's all right. I kind of like that. But now let me show you. Here's the Google Podcast feed. Here is that feed. Look at that DA91 on the Google Podcast. That is a great link, right? And a PA of 40. So that is going to give you a do follow active link out onto whatever. And if you look at here, we were doing it to the very specific links that were within the press release. And that's where these links are pointing to. Those links are going to get the juice. I love that about the podcast. Podchaser, similar, right? Here we are here. Let's go take a look at the show notes. Boom, 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 boom. Active links here. Let's do an inspect on this. Boom. There it is as well. Here's our link. If we can get that a little bit more. But you can see it's a do follow link, right? Love it. So it's a great way to build links. Now you say, well, but what about, what's it going to do for us? So it usually will take about a week to 2 weeks before you'll see it in the search. So I need to go back a little bit in time. Now we did this one for ODYS Global. Y'all have heard of ODYS, selling great aged domains, which is really good. I've bought several from ODYS. Guys, this is all a freebie for you, so appreciate it. But we did this press release for them back on March 15th. And then we went ahead and did this really cool podcast episode for them. So you can take, let me close this thing off. So you can see here are the show notes. We had all of these links in the show notes as well. And you can see they're all active. They're all do follow links, which is great. But now let's go. Let me take you. We did the search. Here's our press release. Boom. Listen notes. Yes. There's one of those podcast platforms that we put it out on. Let's go take a look at this thing. Here's our News Guy podcast. Boom. There we are out there with ODYS. So not only are you getting great links, but you're also occupying more space on organic search for your brand, for that particular title of your press release, or the title that we did for. And what we try to do is really piggyback on the power of the press release. So we generally are labeling the podcast episode the same as the headline within the press release. So we really are trying to get and occupy as much space as we can for that press release and get as much juice for whatever it is that you're doing in your press release, right? So Alex and the guys at ODYS, here we are. Of course, you're going to see all of this great ODYS branded sites and everything, but boom, there's our press release and there's our podcast. You got to have fun with that, right? So you wonder like, wow, that is great. Do I have to set up? Maybe you're only doing one or two press releases. Obviously, we do a lot of press releases. Good news for you. Look at this. You can come over to our site, do it as an add-on. $45 is all. But you can do this thing as an add-on. We'll take care of it for you. That's not the heart of why I'm trying to do this video for you guys. But I wanted to show you some of the creative things that you can do with your press release after it's released. Podcast is a great way to exercise getting more juice, more bang for your press release dollar, getting more powerful links as well. So there you have it. That's just one of the things that you can do to get more mileage, more impact, more power for your press releases. Put them on a podcast. How cool is that? Hey, thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions, certainly look at the links below. We got a lot of fun things in there for you to participate, some freebie things. I've got a free PR book, How to Exercise Your PRs. Go down, sign up for that, download that. Also, you can schedule a free consultation with me. If you like to talk about your next press release project, they're 15 minutes is all. So schedule a time on my calendar. I'd love to talk with you and see what we can do to really maximize your next powerful press release. And again, hey, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And until next time, thanks for hanging out with Randy, the news guy.